Welcome to the video on how to use a case study for the Unit 1 exam, which is the business environment. So this video is just for section C of the exam, where you'll be given an unseen case study. The most important thing to do when you are presented with the case study in the paper is to fully get to grips with what the case is telling you. So the way you do that is by actually marking up the case study and pointing out to yourself things that you think might be really important as you go through the questions in the paper. So as you can see here, that I have noted everything in a circle which has a number. Now, the reason I've done this is because I haven't seen the questions yet, but it may well be that I'm having to use those numbers in my answers. And examiners like to see where you've used numbers because it shows that you have used the case study. In addition to that, I have then started to go through the case study and pick out, again, important information which I think may be relevant in understanding what is happening with this particular business. So the first thing that I have marked up is the fact that this is a sole trader. And there, your knowledge of sole traders should hopefully help you to kind of put in your mind what this means for this particular business. So as we know, with sole traders, they have unlimited liability. However, obviously being a sole trader does give you that flexibility of being your own boss. But obviously, if you were to get into financial trouble with your business, then your personal assets could, in fact, be taken away to pay debts. Sorry. So again, I don't know whether this is going to help me, but it's certainly an important bit of information. So I've just made a note of it at the side, and you can do that on your exam paper. In the second sentence, it starts to talk about the business itself. So in this case, it is a convenience store. And it starts to tell us the types of products that this particular shop does sell. And it goes on to tell us that the space is quite limited. So we have to be visualising quite a small shop, possibly like a little corner shop. But what she has done is obviously filled it with as much stock as possible. And in addition to what we would class as, sort of shop essentials like milk and papers and bread, she has managed to actually stock a selection of vegetarian, international and organic foods to cater for local demands. So again, not sure whether this is going to be relevant, but it certainly builds the understanding of what this sort of business is. It then goes on to talk about the hours that this business is open. So we can see from the case study that it's open for long hours. And she tries to be flexible for customers. So this is really important. She's really trying to meet the needs of the local community and working her business hours around, obviously, their, ways in which they like to shop. And as it says here, she remains open during bank holiday periods. So these types of shops do tend to be like little lifelines for communities because obviously, where, sort of bigger sort of supermarket type shops close over the sort of bank holiday periods, we do tend to find these types of convenience stores still open. The next paragraph talks about who works for her, and we have people there who are under the age of 25, so they're relatively young, probably students at university or in the beginning of their career. And a really good thing about this is she's paying above the minimum wage. So this is showing that actually she does care for her staff. And by paying over the minimum wage, it gives you the impression that, yes, there is a good working relationship. It looks as though those staff are working particularly long hours, but they don't mind. But again, it may well be that, going forward, that's something I've marked up the hours that they're working there that we possibly will go back to actually answer a question on. So generally, what we've got here is a fantastic little business. It's been running for 20 years. It's serving a local community. It's obviously been profitable for the last 20 years because, it's supported her and her family. That's been her main source of income. And then what we find out in March 2014, a national supermarket chain was granted permission to build a new supermarket. If I could actually draw a sad face here, I would. But this is the problem, okay? This is the problem that potentially we're going to get some questions on, because we have some serious competition. It's very, very difficult for businesses to obviously operate and then throw in a national supermarket, and you really have to think about how you can compete with such a big business. Because from your general knowledge, hopefully you will know that supermarkets, they tend to offer lower prices than convenience stores, and they also stock wider ranges, which for both of those things, unfortunately, this particular shop probably would not be able to compete with because of the size of the shop and because of being a bigger supermarket. They can enjoy what we call economies of scale, where they're able to buy massive amounts of items. It could be biscuits, milk, you name it. Because they're buying so much, they get a lower price. So if you compare that to a small corner shop, they're not able to obviously buy things at a price that a bigger supermarket would. So therefore they can't obviously lower their prices to pass that discount on to the customer. So this is the crux of the situation, unfortunately. And it says in the last sort of line there, she worries that her objective to increase sales at the convenience corner by 3% year on year may no longer be achievable. And yeah, she has cause concern. That is a big worry for any business. And although obviously we haven't seen the rest of the paper, you can guarantee that there's going to be questions around the sort of sales figures for this particular business. They've given us a graph there. So you can obviously guarantee that there will be some questions about her financial performance between 2013 and 2015 as well. So for the convenience of this video, I have pulled through question 32 of this paper, which says, recommend ways in which Convenience Corner could respond to the increased competition from the supermarket. Give reasons for your recommendations. So you would already be thinking that there's no way that this business can compete on price, as I previously mentioned, due to economies of scale. It cannot compete in terms of the range of products because she hasn't got the space. Therefore, your thinking has to be around what else could this particular business do to be able to compete with this business. So we're going to take a look at how we would actually set that out using our 12-mark question techniques. So for example, we would use our point, example, explain, analysis and leading to. For paragraph 1, we would then do exactly the same for paragraph 2. And then we would write a final conclusion. So the thinking has to be around, obviously, what could this business do to compete on non-price competition, basically. So I'm just grabbing the mark scheme here. As you can see, there's many things that hopefully would come to your mind. If this was done in class, we'd go around the class and you may bring up some of these things. Maybe start thinking of differentiation in terms of are there other products that would make her quite a sort of specialist type shop, particularly around sort of, local produce, local ice creams and, any kind of farms that possibly, could bring a sort of difference to her shop. And again, it could be fair trade, things like that. She's already selling vegetarian, international and organic food, so perhaps she could expand that range. It's obviously working because she's stocking it, so maybe there's a chance there to actually expand it. We could look at things such as customer service, because obviously within a big supermarket there are levels of customer service that people expect, but in a local sort of corner shop we could offer things more like personalisation, greeting customers by their names, really getting to know our customers and, how people like particular products, and catering maybe even for individual needs. So certainly there could be an element of, if we improve the customer service, that could possibly, attract more customers. We could look at things in terms of personal service, such as, maybe a savings club for Christmas, or a second-hand board, or a raffle supporting a local charity. It's these sort of things that bring people into the local shops because they want to feel part of the community. And obviously the more things you can do to be part of the community will, again, people will want to come to your shop so that they are finding out everything that is going on. We could look at things such as promotions. We could look at things such as loyalty cards. Is there a particular amount of money someone could spend, and then they get a stamp which leads to some money off somewhere, or some additional marketing or advertising campaigns. Just remind people that you are there, even though obviously, the competition potentially is down the road, but you are there to support and help out the local community, reminding them of your flexible opening hours and, special requests for any particular products that they want stocked, things like that. So as I did previously mention, this is really looking at non-price competition. So other than price, how can this business compete? And of course, we're going to be using innovative, creative ways to ensure that the footfall for our customers still remains high, and that they're coming into the shop to obviously make purchases. So you, in theory, could have said any of those particular options there. All of those are considered to be good answers for this question. And in a particular 12-mark question like this, it hasn't asked for a number of ways, so we're going to take 2 points when we are using our particular marking scheme. And the example I'm going to show you is here. So this is an exemplar response from OCR. So in the first one, as you can see, they've used the idea of a loyalty scheme. So I've applied it to our 12-mark case study, our 12-mark question structure. And as you can see there, the first point, if Kirsten introduced a loyalty scheme. So there we go, we've made our first point. We're then going to explain, possibly give an example. In this case, they have said where, for example, customers receive 1 stamp every time they spend £20. We then go into our analysis. And remember, our analysis has to be talking about what it leads to for the impact for this business. So in this case, she might be able to encourage shoppers to increase their average spend in store, and this will then increase her sales volume. So we've got like, what does it lead to, and then what is the impact or the leading to impact. We then, as you now know, do a second point and a second paragraph. And therefore, in this particular example, it's looking at expanding her product range, which is not available at local supermarket. So that is our point. We then go on to explain that, so expanding the specialist sections which the store already has of vegetarian, international and organic food would seem a good way to start, as these foods must already be in demand. As I said, she's already stocking them, therefore people are already buying them. So that is our explanation there, and then we're going into our analysis again, using the sort of leading to impact. So by doing this, this would encourage more customers to visit the store to purchase these items, increasing the footfall, which is the number of people who enter the shop, and hopefully lead to sales. So we've done our 2 paragraphs. We are now going to attempt our final paragraph, which is the evaluation. And remember, at this point, you have to decide what or which one is the best option for this particular business. And remember, in our 12-mark evaluation, we're going to justify it. We're going to say why. Why have you chosen which option, and what does it lead to for the business? Now, in this particular evaluation, they've started off by saying why they wouldn't use the other option, and that's absolutely fine, as long as you then go on to say why you're picking the one that you're picking. So if we read this evaluation, operating a loyalty card scheme could prove difficult without investment in technology, allowing plastic cards to be used. There's the justification there in terms of that's why they haven't chosen that option. The sales assistants would likely have to use a manual card stamping process. So what they're saying is it could be a little bit tricky, a little bit fiddly. So this would delay the service at the till and may be open to fraud. And then we go on to the one that we are justifying. So I would recommend that Kirsten stocks specialist products in store which are not available in the normal supermarket. This would not cause any additional complications for sales assistants at the point of sale. And because such goods normally carry a premium price, and because of that will lead to profits as well as sales. So as I was saying, we have said which one is the best option for this business. We've then actually answered the question why and backed up something relevant to the case study. Remember, we're always going to use the case study. And then we have talked about what this leads to for the business. So what is the impact of this decision? So that is the end of this particular video, showing you how you should use the case study in an exam. Remember, you can write all over it. The more you use the case study, the more in-depth your answers will be. And just a reminder that obviously this is just an example answer, and your answer probably would be obviously a bit more lengthier than the one I'm showing you here. But everything you do, use the case study, use any numbers from the case study, and really start to understand what the problems are in the business, and then really you're trying to help the business solve their problems with which option they should go with. Okay, thanks for listening. Goodbye.